nobody there. Sky is falling, metal rain, chaos mornings, no one's sane. Crumbling towers, streets in flames, forgotten heroes, who knows their names? Broken futures, shattered dreams, and
Hello friends, this is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, April 30th, 2025, Wednesday edition of Weaponized News, as we're in the 100 days week of the Trump administration celebration of failure. I don't know. A lot of hype, propaganda, hopium out there. We're never going to get a resolution on the medical intervention period, it seems. We're just going to act like, oh yeah, last 5 years never happened. It's all good. The entire government's illegitimate. Republican, Democrat, everybody in between. It's where we're at here now, being honest with you. See some people jumping online here. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get right to it. A lot of news to cover. Some revelations, apparently, coming out of today's 100-day cabinet meeting or 100-day week cabinet meeting out of the White House. Some shocking developments from Bobby Kennedy Jr. He's saying that the Department of Health and Human Services under the Biden administration was complicit in child trafficking and human trafficking. Quite shocking. Where's the arrest? Why is Mayorkas not in prison? You know what I'm saying? Oh, because it's against constitutional conservatives' principles to even vote for impeaching them. That's what I can't even remember the stupid guy's name. Right next district over from me. They make me want to throw up. What the hell is the guy's name? Anyway. Republican out of California, next district over from me. He's a great constitutional conservative because the Constitution's keeping us safe, don't you know? But it also prevents us from impeaching human trafficking heads of the Department of Homeland Security as well, Mayorkas. And so everybody involved is complicit in it. So we got that. Not to blackpill you. I mean, we are getting some big wins on the public health front. Fluoride is set to be banned in Florida. It's now coming out, undeniable fact, that it's a toxic waste. And the lying media continues to report, oh, it's a mineral. It's a naturally occurring mineral. No, it's toxic waste that they can't get rid of anywhere else. So they said, hell, let's just dump it in the water supply and call it a mineral. No one will get in trouble for that. The systematic poisoning of the American people over how many, they started it, right after World War II here in America. So the systematic poisoning of the public drinking water supply, no one gets in trouble. The government's not legitimate at this point. We can all fall for the bread and circus, dog and pony show, all the lies. They're all complicit in crimes against humanity. It's quite a sight to behold. All the truth of the miracles will come out eventually. It's already out, but the government will admit it eventually someday. I do believe. When that will be, I don't know. But there's just too much evidence, as is with fluoride. So someday, maybe Bobby Kennedy Jr. will bring it all out. I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. What do we got today? The official end of the Vietnam War. Another complete and utter failure of American government, costing what, over 58,000 American soldiers' lives. How many Vietnamese, Cambodians, Laotians? How many we killed over 1 million of them. It's an afterthought. No one cares. We have a story 50 years on Vietnam War's ecocide, still not healed. Yeah, Agent Orange. So, yeah, the environmental damage that we did there in Vietnam is still, we're still seeing repercussions today, to this day. What else do we got here today? The new media there, the alternative media, they say, is at the press conferences at the White House. Shills for the government, essentially, at this point. Very sad. But could it go any other way? Probably not. Probably not. People don't want the truth. They love tribalism. My team, red team, blue team, Coke, Pepsi, the majority love it, I guess. So you're going to continue to have a failure of government. Sorry to tell you. What do we got? Yeah, we'll play both sides for you of the 100 days, some more fallout from the 100 days. We'll play Republicans and Democrats side of things. What else do we got today? A little bit about public health. Well, everybody was worried that public health in the third world was going to be lacking due to the United States cutting some funding. Well, we don't have to worry about that. The eugenics program will continue. Bill Gates Foundation and other philanthropists have pledged to launch a $500 million newborn health fund there for the third world. See, they really do care. If you can read between the lines and you understand what's really going on here, it's quite horrific, let me tell you. Yeah, Bobby Kennedy Jr. We'll play the clip of him saying it. He says, this is at the White House cabinet meeting today. He said HHS became a collaborator in child trafficking and for sex and for slavery, and we haven't ended that. Why is it not ended? Why are we not seeing arrests of the government that's a collaborator in child trafficking? Is this just more mocking of us? They're like, yeah, look, government does it all. Still nothing happens. A shock slip up here, potentially. Well, we'll get to that. By Michelle Obama during her podcast. Interesting. It's short, so it may, I don't know how you could take it out of context, but maybe it is. Anyway, we'll play that where she says, well, you got to wait to hear the clip. It is quite shocking. A lot of economic news. I don't know how much time we'll spend on that. I got a lot of stories pulled up, but pretty boring, honestly. We'll cover a little bit of economics, geopolitical news. China has come out with a white paper regarding the bat disease, saying it was not a lab leak out of their facility there in Wuhan. So America, Trump administration says it was. China says it wasn't. We're never going to get full agreement because of the implications of what all it entails now, are we? When it's probably somewhere in between, both governments completely complicit in the entire operation. Along with it, every other government, essentially. So we got that. There's giant fires being reported right outside of Jerusalem in Aardvark land. And of course, when you know, It's terrorism. It's a damn terrorist. I'm telling you. Are we going to get a Ukraine-Russia peace deal? Hopefully. Hopefully we do. It looks like we may have signed the mineral deal with Ukraine. So that may be moving things together. So now if anything ever happens, we can more easily be pulled into a war with Russia. Isn't this wonderful news? We're in a full-on war with the Houthis there in Yemen. The UK has now joined the bombings along with America. Houthis are claiming they're running operations against Aardvark forces and United States forces. It's a full-on war. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Where's Congress? And then even Council on Foreign Relations is putting it out there. Starvation as a weapon. Indeed, with the siege, the blockade of food, water, medicine, energy into Gaza by the Aardvarks, they have indeed weaponized starvation and are using it as a weapon against those damn pesky Hamas terrorists. It's just beyond the pale that anyone would support this. It's evil. It's evil that anyone would support this, but yet they are. Yet they are. Huge fires rage around Jerusalem. God forbid, right? And then, of course, well, Aardvark blaze in national emergency believed to be active terrorism. Of course. Of course. All right, let's get to this day in history. On this day of April 30th, we had a lot of Aardvarks being expelled. In 1349, Black Death Massacre. This was more than being expelled. Aardvarks of Randolph-Zell, Germany, were exterminated. Blamed for the Black Plague there. In 1492, Spain announces it will expel all Aardvarks. In 1563, Aardvarks are expelled from France by order of Charles VI. So that's a continuing trend we're seeing on this day. We're noticing. In 1789, George Washington was inaugurated as the first president of America on this day. In 1798, the U.S. Department of Navy forms. In 1934, Austria gets Austrian fascist, quote, Austrian fascist constitution. Isn't that nice for them? In 1939, FDR became the first United States president to appear on television when NBC RCA television broadcasts the opening of the 1939 New York World's Fair. In 1945, Adolf Hitler, the little mustache man, allegedly committed suicide there in his bunker as forces were closing in on him. Did he really? There's a lot of reports, some quasi credible, that say he did not commit suicide and fled to South America. I don't know. In 1970, U.S. troops invade Cambodia. On this day, And then 5 years later, in 1975, North Vietnamese troops capture Saigon, ending the Vietnam War. In 1989, the World Wide Web, WWW, what we're all on right now, is first launched in the public domain by CERN scientist. I know it wasn't Al Gore. I'm upset about it too. Tim Berners-Lee. And 4 years later, in 1993, the source code of the World Wide Web is released publicly by CERN. And today is the International Jazz Day. Not a real big fan of jazz, but, oh, and by the way, it's deemed that by UNESCO, so questionable, I would say. At best, the celebration of International Jazz Day. Okay. What is going to be the segue today? It shall be old Chuck Schumer. We won't listen to that much of it, but hey, we're fair and balanced, right? Remember Fox News used to say that? Fair and balanced. We give you both sides. Let's hear what old Chuck Schumer, leader of the Democrats, allegedly, he says Donald Trump's first 100 days can be defined by one big F word: failure. Here's the segue to the news, and we got a lot to get to, so don't let me ramble on here. What does Barry say? Hand pink waving. Yeah, sorry. I'm out of the loop on that conversation. But again, thank you guys for tuning in here. I see the regulars. Thank you guys. The regular viewers of the broadcast. We got a lot to get to. Here is Chuck Schumer.
Donald Trump's first 100 days can be defined by one big F word: failure. Failure on the economy. Failure on lowering costs. Failure on tariffs. Failure on foreign policy. Failure on preserving democracy. Failure on helping middle-class families. Today's new economic news showed that Donald Trump is running the American economy the way he ran his family business: into the ground. Into the ground. On tariffs, what a failure. It's a policy that's in total chaos. One day says one thing, one day says another thing. Maybe this country has tariffs, maybe this country won't. Even his policy advisors are at a loss to explain what he's doing. And as a result, instead of all of us in the world going after China, China now has allies all over the world going after us. Tariffs, a failure.
Well, it didn't start with the tariffs, but that is true. They're building a separate system outside of the Western banking system with BRICS and creating security alliances all over the place. We'll get to that. We got some Chinese news today. So the White House held its 5th cabinet meeting, marking the first 100 days of the golden age of America. That's what they tell us. Call me skeptical. I have my doubts, but this is what the propaganda coming out of the White House is saying. So the new media, they're called the new media by the White House. They're the same old propagandists that are spinning it from a right-wing populist perspective and running psyops against us. And it's sad, but yeah, that's what time it is. So here is the new media Let's play this short intro from the blonde lady there. Did you guys like Raggedy? I kind of miss Raggedy Ann. I don't know.
Third official influencer briefing here at the White House in the beautiful South Court Auditorium, Joe Biden's former office that he pretended to be his office. Now we're using it for its real purposes as an auditorium.
Influencer briefing. These people have, they're propagandists for the government, so whoop-de-frickin-do. Good for you. Sold your souls out. I'm happy for them. This guy, Posobiec, very disappointing. I don't even know who this guy is. He has the ribbon, so he must be good, right? These characters. Right-wing propagandists. Here's Jack Posobiec and Dom LeCour in the White House press briefing room today. They asked some questions. Let's hear what they had to say a little bit from the, quote, new media. Same old media. Same old propaganda.
In today, and I appreciate the administration making yourself available and making it available to us and all of our followers. And I understand that you're going to be continuing these, and I think it's fantastic that really have everybody come in and be able to do this. One of the things that's been troubling me and has actually even affected me over the last 24 hours is the rise of violence that we've seen from elements of the far left, starting with things like Luigi Maggioni, these support for these unhuman organizations like MS-13, Tren de Aragua, and even, of course, the assassination attempts on President Trump, Thomas Matthew Crooks, and Ryan Routh, as well as numerous incidents against anyone who owns a Tesla, apparently. You don't really see the Democrats opposing these things. You see them in many cases either co-signing it or giving a wink and nod to it at the same time that they will be demanding that we follow due process for anyone who actually is a hardened criminal or some of the worst of the worst. What is the administration doing, DOJ-wise or FBI-wise, to combat this rise in violence that we're seeing?
It's a great question, Jack, and I absolutely agree with the premise of your question, which I usually don't when I take questions at a podium. But certainly you're right. We have seen a rise in political violence that stems from the left, dating back to the Black Lives Matter movement, which the left and the Democrats don't want to talk about much. But they burned down American cities, and the Biden administration did nothing to prosecute those who created that violence, oftentimes not just destroying businesses, but also lives and communities as well. You look at the rise of violence against the president himself and his supporters. You had 2 heinous assassination attempts from leftist lunatics, and the president is lucky and blessed to be here today because he was able to survive that political violence and those assassination attempts. Look at the recent attacks on Tesla, on Elon Musk's company. It's quite ironic because Democrats and leftists were the greatest fans of Tesla. Many Democrats drive Teslas to this very day, but then it's that their same party who is doing nothing to stop or condemn or discourage this violence from taking place. And in many cases, Democrat elected officials are actually inciting it and encouraging it. But that's not going to be allowed to happen anymore. The Attorney General was just in the cabinet room with the president and made it very clear to anyone who is inciting violence or participating in violence, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And no longer do we have a Justice Department that chooses
We'll see. But they keep the left-right paradigm going strong here, right? As I continue to report, it's the 99.99 versus the 0.0001, and all the rest is theater. Vietnam, we lost Vietnam today in 1975. Should have never been there in the first place. Started by a hoax, another hoax, the Gulf of Tonkin event, which never happened. Allegedly, our ships were attacked. Why were our ships there in the first place? Oh, because we have to police the world. So our ships were allegedly attacked there in the Gulf of Tonkin, which didn't happen, leading to us going to war with Vietnam. No one gets in trouble. And the war profiteers are fat and happy, and America's youth is destroyed, and the nation is divided, and Vietnam is still trying to recover from that, as is America. But more and more Vietnam veterans are dying off, and soon they'll all be dead, and it'll all be forgotten. Very sad, dark chapter here in American history. Here's Vietnam did put on. We have some images. I have a long video, but they did. It's a newscast. Here's a little bit. Here's some celebrations. Let's play a short little bit of this from Vietnam about the end of the Vietnam War.
Nhân loại đón chờ Việt Nam, Việt Nam. Mơ ước ngàn năm cất cánh bay.
So they did put on quite a celebration today, marking the 50th anniversary of national reunification for Vietnam. Quite a celebration indeed. Parade, performances, as you could see there. Karen says let's just put it on screen. They can't afford better script writers. My ears are bleeding now. I know, we demand better psyops for as much taxes as we pay. It's embarrassing already. So yeah, the eco side, and this is funny. I left it up so everybody could see. Asia Times says, tired of the gaslighting? And get a subscription to them. May not be too far from the truth. They say the mainstream media told you economic sanctions would kill the Russian economy. U.S. tech sanctions would shut down China's semiconductor industry. Russia is taking massive casualties in the Ukraine and will have to negotiate. China's property market will collapse its economy, and so on. Yeah, well, that's why I trust our lying media here, because they are consistent in one thing: lies and propaganda. 50 years on Vietnam's Vietnam War's ecocide still not healed. Vietnam's environment still bears the scars of America's ecological war, signaling dark futures for Gaza and Ukraine. Yee. When the Vietnam War finally ended on April 30th, 1975, it left behind a landscape scarred with environmental damage. Vast stretches of coastal mangroves, once housing rich stocks of fish and birds, lay in ruins. Forests that had boosted hundreds of species were reduced to dried out fragments, overgrown with invasive grasses. The term ecocide had been coined in the late 1960s to describe the United States military's use of herbicides like Agent Orange and incendiary weapons like napalm to battle guerrilla forces that used jungles and marshes for cover. 50 years later, Vietnam's degraded ecosystem and dioxin-contaminated soils and water still reflect the long-term ecological consequences of the war. Efforts to restore these damaged landscapes and even to assess the long-term harm have been limited. Quite horrific indeed. But hey, we care about the environment, climate change. You know what I mean? Not real environmental damage. Hell, we have Monsanto creating Roundup, creating glyphosate to spray on all of your fruit here and vegetables in America. So you should love it. By the way, Monsanto is the makers of Agent Orange. Truly disgusting. So where do we even go from there? Well, we got more. You asked where we go? We got more. And so, again, DOGE, what happened? Here in this headline, I don't get this headline really, but I'll put it up here. DOGE, Musk pledged to cut $1 trillion at DOGE. Republicans say it was always a pipe dream. The target was far-fetched, says Musk defenders, though they vow to keep cutting. But then right here in the first sentence, they say Elon Musk blew into Washington after predicting he could deliver at least $2 trillion. See, I don't know why they did that with the headline anyway, in cuts to the federal government. I remember he said that. That's why that's the number I always quote is $2 trillion. So, yeah, looks like about, I don't know, 160,000. See, I know math is hard and numbers and stuff, but 2 trillion and 160 billion are it's missing a lot of zeros, right? And it looks like they're about wrapped up with all of because it was all a cover, right? As we continue to cover here. Of course, we did fire some government workers, red meat for the base. But it appears it was to get Palantir AI systems in all of the government systems. And that's exactly what they did under the cover of we're cutting $2 trillion from government waste, fraud, and abuse. Turns out, not so much. 150, 160 billion. If we're lucky, we're still running a massive deficit. The war spending or defense spending, all-time record high. Yeah, it's not really sorting out how it was advertised now, is it? No, it isn't. Doge 5th Gen. Yeah. All right. The viewers, Bob says, yeah, I do hear you on all this. We were tricked again. Stop tricking me. Stop tricking me. Los Angeles County workers march in downtown Los Angeles as part of a 2-day strike. More than 50,000 Los Angeles County workers. Imagine that. There's 50,000. I guess it's a big county, but still. California needs a DOGE, but not to replace our IT systems with Palantir AI. We need a legitimate audit of the government here in California because that just is ridiculous. We need that many. 50,000 Los Angeles County workers. Los Angeles County needs, and I'm sure they have even more than that. We're on strike again yesterday, closing libraries and disrupting administrative operations in the nation's most populous county, Los Angeles County. What the heck? Let's go to a report about it. Bless their hearts. They're screw the rest of us, but we should feel sympathy for them as they go on strike here to screw us even worse. So this report out of NBC Channel 4, LA.
And morning. We begin with the tens of thousands of unionized LA County workers now on strike. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael Brownlee.
And I'm Colleen Williams. The workers want better pay, but the county says it just doesn't have the money. Thousands of people took to the streets of downtown LA in a display of solidarity as they look to put pressure on the county for a new contract. More than a dozen people were arrested.
So how will the strike impact you? Non-urgent clinics are closed, as well as everything from LA County libraries to some beach restrooms. NBC4's Camilla Rambaldi is in downtown Los Angeles, where that march rally and those arrests took place.
That march has started here in downtown LA this morning, now over, but earlier this was a very different sight when thousands of LA County workers made their way through downtown Los Angeles. And as this two-day strike continues, it's impacting a number of services across LA County.
Well, that's good of them. Go back here to the, you guys notice this? They have their, city logo seal here is appears very occultic. Actually, we'll have to take a deeper dive into that County of Los Angeles seal. But yeah, feel real bad for the LA County workers there, all 50,000 of them unionized. They've run everything into the ground and now demand more pay. Whew, amazing. New York bans smartphones in schools, joins national movement. Governor Hochul argued that the bell-to-bell ban, which restricts the devices during classes, lunch, and other parts of school, would help prevent disruption and cyberbullying. I don't know. I went to school when there were no smartphones. I don't know. How would it have been different? How weird would it have been? I don't know. I'm sure some people would have done some cyberbullying. They did real bullying, like literally walk up and just punch you in the face. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I think I'd rather be cyberbullied actually than punched in the nose just for the hell of it. But different time. So in more than 700 districts, including New York City, school leaders will be required to create plans to store students' smartphones from bell to bell to prevent their unsanctioned use during class, lunch, and other parts of the school day. New York's move follows the lead of roughly a dozen other states, including California, Louisiana, and Virginia, that have moved in recent years to require districts to limit phone use, though the policies vary. So no more smartphones at the schools in Los Angeles. Okay, here is Bobby Kennedy Jr. today dropping some bombshells. I don't know if it's in this clip or not, but what the hell? Let's hear from his address at the cabinet meeting today. Make America healthy again, they say.
Mr. President, thank you for your extraordinary leadership. Over the past 100 days, we are already making America healthy again. We announced last week the ban on the 9 petroleum-based synthetic dyes, food dyes. Within 2 years, within 2 months, we're going to ban the worst 2 of them. I am working with Secretary Rollins on dietary guidelines, the dietary guidelines that the President Biden's administration gave us. 453 pages. They're basically unreadable. And they are the product of the same kind of politicized science that drove Fruit Loops to the top of the food pyramid. And we're going to do real science, gold standard science. We're going to develop we have till December to do it. We are working very, very fast together. We're going to get it done by the end of the summer in time to drive change, major dramatic changes in the school food, the school lunch programs over the next school year. I'm working also with Secretary Rollins on the SNAP program and to get sodas and and candy off of the food stamp program. 10% of food stamps go to SNAP. And I want to thank you for your courage. You are a business-friendly president, probably the most business-friendly in our history, but you're also willing to stand up to very, very powerful businesses, and you've shown that again and again. Secretary Rollins had the soda industry come and knock on her door very much, very loudly, and they said to her, well, the SNAP program is not supposed to be about nutrition. She pointed out to them that there is no nutrition in a soda. And they said, well, it's not supposed to be about nutrition. And she said to them, the name of the program is supplemental nutrition assistance. So it is about nutrition. And we shouldn't, we have 38% of our kids are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and we are paying at both ends. We're paying for the food-like substances that make them diabetic, and then we're being bankrupt. We're spending $1 trillion a year on metabolic dysfunction. It's existential and it's not sustainable. I visited Arizona, West Virginia, Utah, and Indiana in the last 2 weeks, who have all applied for SNAP waivers. We're encouraging, thanks to Brooke Rollins' leadership, all of the states to apply for those waivers. I also visited Utah, which is the first state to ban supplemental fluoride. Florida yesterday passed a bill to ban supplemental fluoride. I'm confident Governor DeSantis is going to sign that. We are working, Lee Zeldin and I are working together to change the federal fluoride regulations, to change the recommendations, and we're looking at the science now. I want to point out that in August, the National Toxicity Program, which was an arm of the NIH, did a meta-review of all the science on fluoride and found that there's a direct inverse correlation between fluoride exposure and lowered IQ in children. So the more you get, the stupider you are. And we need smart kids in this country, and we need healthy kids, and thank you for your leadership. We're going to get there. We're reviewing the GRAS standards now we're revamping them to get 10,000 ingredients that are in our foods. The Europeans only have 400 ingredients. We have 10,000. There are chemicals we know nothing about. And we are going to stop that process, and then we're going to go back and look at these chemicals and make the companies either get rid of them or to label them. We've launched Operation Stork Speed, and we're going full speed ahead to make sure that we have good, high-quality milk for children. We have launched the autism study at your direction. By September, we'll have some of the first answers. Within 6 months of that, we will have definitive answers, not only for autism, but for the etiology of a whole range of autoimmune diseases that have become epidemic in our children. We have ended HHS as the role as the vector, the principal vector in this country for child trafficking. And during the Biden administration, HHS became a collaborator in child trafficking and for sex and for slavery. And we have ended that, and we're very aggressively going out and trying to find these children, the 300,000 children that were lost by the Biden administration. And we have ended funding for gender mutilation, surgeries, and other kind of gender dysphoria practices. And thanks to Elon, we have saved $67 billion at our agency without compromising any of our critical programs. Mr. President, I want to thank you for your vision, for your leadership, for giving me the 100 busiest days of my life, and most exciting and most rewarding. And there's, over the next 100 days, we're going to do much, much more.
That's great. Thank you very much, Barry.
He said a lot there. The conspiracy theorist, ex-heroin addict. He said HHS collaborated with child trafficking. Kind of a big deal. And still no one's in trouble. Denver's complaining they're getting rid of the fake food and culling all the real food. Well, fast. It's going to become a hot new trend because that's going to be our only choice. Major public health programs cut under President Trump. Let's hear from CBS News about this shocking development.
There's been a major overhaul to staffing and funding at agencies that fall under the Department of Health and Human Services since President Trump took office. At the National Institutes of Health, 1,300 employees have been fired, and more than $2 billion in research grants have been canceled since January. The agency says it is the largest public funder for biomedical research in the world. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention cut its workforce by about 2,400 employees earlier this month. The Food and Drug Administration initially reduced its workforce by 3,500 employees, but CBS News has learned some of those FDA firings will be reversed. CBS News digital reporter Alex Tin joins us now for more. Alex, what kind of ripple effects will these cuts have?
Yeah, look, we are already hearing about a long list of effects from all of these cuts.
Forget about cuts. They're all complicit and guilty of crimes against humanity. Will we ever see justice? No. But that's the reality of the situation, especially after the last 5 years, even before the last 5 years. But they're naked in their tyranny after the last 5 years. EPA says fluoride in drinking water is hazardous waste. Yeah, it's a byproduct of aluminum production, nuclear production. It's toxic waste. But now this is a major public health win. Don't mistake about it. That's coming from head of EPA's Union of Scientists and Professionals, Dr. William Harsey, by Cheryl Atkinson. Let's put that up there. So yeah. So does somebody get in trouble for putting toxic waste in the public drinking water supply for the last 70, 80 years? No, they just literally laugh in your face. But this is a major win as to not be totally blackpilled here. It's a major win. Yep, reduces IQ scores in children. So, yeah, they're not turning that ship around. It sailed, as it will with the miracles someday. There you go. As Bobby Kennedy mentioned there, Florida is set to become second state to ban fluoride in public water. As we've been reporting, they've been going down around to every county water district, doing it individually. But now it appears it will be statewide, signed into law. A bill to ban the use of, and see, they lie here, complicit in crimes against humanity, NBC News, where they know damn well that it's not the naturally occurring mineral. Right? But they say right here, a bill to ban the use of the mineral in public water. They know damn well it's not the naturally occurring mineral. It's toxic waste. NBC News, who's the author of this? This person, real piece of work. Passed the Florida House 88. We like our 88s to 27, and now awaits Governor DeSantis' signature. So this is indeed a step in the positive direction for public health, for real public health. Continuing. Yeah, we had some clip outs of the long clip of Bobby Kennedy there. Here's but I guess we'll just stick with what the former head of NIH says, right? We'll stick with what this guy has to say.
And Jeffrey, the saddest story of all this, and it is unbelievably sad, is when you add up how many people lost their lives because of information, just basically deciding that the vaccine is not going to be for them. The Kai's Family Foundation estimates between June of 21 and March of 22, 234,000 Americans died unnecessarily in graveyards today, like 3 jumbo jets crashing every day for 9 months, unnecessary.
Still here, and we know what the real cause was, and it wasn't what he said. Massive study shows major complications from abortion pill 22 times higher than FDA says. A new study reveals that the abortion pill mifepristone carries a rate of serious or life-threatening complications 22 times higher than what the FDA and the drugs manufacturers, Danco Laboratories, have claimed. The analysis, described as the largest known study of the abortion pill, was conducted by Ethics and Public Policy Center President Ryan Anderson. Well, we know ethics is a conspiracy theory. It doesn't exist, right? The authors maintain this is the largest study ever of the abortion pill. It examined insurance claims, data from Medicaid, TRICARE, Medicare, and the VA, and private insurers, covering 865,727 mifepristone prescriptions dispensed to 692,873 women between 2017 and 2023. So quite a robust study, you could say. According to the study, approximately 10.9% of these prescriptions, 94,605 chemical abortions, resulted in serious adverse events such as emergency room visits, hemorrhaging, sepsis, infections, or follow-up surgeries within 45 days of taking the drug. The rate starkly contrasts with the FDA's reported complication rate. So I know it's shocking. The FDA running cover for toxic drugs. Shocking, I know. Another one, read between the lines here, if you will, with me. So I know everybody, we were upset about these healthcare cuts, right? Oh my gosh, what are we going to do without the eugenicists having access to children in the third world? Well, you don't worry about that, because the depopulation agenda will continue, as if there was ever any doubt. Bill Gates and others launch $500 million maternal newborn health fund, bucking aid cuts trend. Reuters reports here. Here we go. So don't you worry about these poor little black kids there in Africa about not getting their health cares. A group of philanthropies, including the Gates Foundation, has set up a fund backed with nearly $500 million to help save the lives of newborn babies and mothers in sub-Saharan Africa. It would be nice if that was true, but I have a sneaking suspicion if you read between the lines, you'll find a whole different story and reason for giving all of this money. State Department Memorandum 200, primary source, and work your way out from there. Sorry to say, that's the reality of the world we live in. U.S. CDC cancels science group workshop on preventing human bird flu infections, as if there was ever even a thing. So here we go. National Academies of Science workshop would have trained on proper use of PPE. We don't know how to wear our mask and gloves yet. I don't know. I guess we need more training. June workshop was canceled this week after the CDC contract termination. Bird flu has infected 70 people in the past year. According to the CDC, They're using the PCR test to diagnose bird flu. I don't know, man. I think it's been fully exposed already. Okay, last. Now, is this out of context? I don't know. I don't have time or the inclination or the caring to even go back and watch Michelle Obama's podcast, but we've reported that she has one, and maybe we should, or we're racist bigots, but I just don't have the time in the day. But this is an interesting clip cut out talking about, well, here's the clip. Is this a Freudian slip? The truth, reality taken out of context? I don't know, but quite shocking to say the least.
Wanted to talk, Marlon, a bit about, you know, just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender.
Absolutely.
And that's, you know, that warms my heart, particularly as a Black man. You know, would you care to share that journey of my heart, particularly as a Black man? You know, would you care to share that?
I don't know, man. I guess you could say she was talking to him. She was talking to him. I don't know. But very bizarre exchange there, to say the least. All right, let's take our live commercial break. I'm ahead of you, Barry, today, as I'm watching the clock here to make sure we have enough time. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com. Get yourself some stickers there. We got the holograph sticker, of course, with all the colors of the rainbow for Pride Month. Every day is Pride Day at Weaponized News. And then the white background sticker, and then we have the clear background sticker. Put on your laptop, your bumper, your guitar, and help spread the good word about independent media at Weaponized News. Give us a donation if you like on the website. The donation button securely through PayPal is right there. And we do appreciate all of the support from listeners and subscribers. Let me just throw it up there for everybody to plug it. There you go. You can donate right here. And here's the store. And we do appreciate all the support. And I've had more than one compliment to say this is a very nice logo and people enjoy it. And you can use it to start up a conversation with those that are against self-defense and say, hey, when they get triggered by this, say, this is not what you think it is. This is a camera, actually, because the news has been weaponized against you, and you should probably be aware of it and not so triggered by an image of a camera. Get the troll there? All right. Let's go on to our sponsor, Abba Enterprises, and then we'll be right back with the rest of the news for you.
Running a small business feeling overwhelmed by numbers and paperwork? Abba Enterprises has your back. Our expert business solutions include accounting, QuickBooks support, payroll, taxes, and top-notch consulting. Let us handle the details so you can focus on growing your business. Business Solutions Accounting, QuickBooks, Consulting, Payroll, Taxes. Call 559-577-9250. Call Abba Enterprises today at 559-577-9250.
I just realized that the logo for Abba Enterprises, the A, is that not a pyramid and an I? Just saying. It's a capital A. Just saying. All right. What else do we got? We got a lot more, actually. On to the economy. Let's hear from Trump. Short clip here about the economy. He's blaming Biden. It is true the economic data does lag, but as we continue to report, all government economic data under Trump, Biden, whoever the hell since the 80s, forever, but even worse since then, is extremely manipulated through the calculations they're using.
Look at the stock market in this case, is it says how bad a situation we inherited. I took place, this is a quarter that we looked at today, and we took all of us together. We came in on January 20th. So this Biden, and you could even say the next quarter is sort of Biden, because it doesn't just happen on a daily or an hourly basis.
That is true. It does take a while to unwind, but don't feel bad for Trump and the bad economic numbers. He's making billions off of insider trading. Here is the Treasury Secretary, Bissett, confirms President Trump's plan to replace income tax with tariffs. So how's this going to sort out? We're just going to pay more for everything, and it'll be even less transparent? I don't know. Barry should like this because taxation's theft.
Tariffs. The president said over the weekend that we are hoping that maybe tariff revenues could replace income tax. But we also keep hearing about the deals that the administration is pursuing. So my question is, what is the White House's ultimate objective here? Do you want to have long-term tariff revenue or deals that might reduce those tariffs?
I think it's a combination of both. So we're going to take in long-term tariff revenue. We put a process in place. We have 18 important trading relationships. We will be speaking to all of those partners, or at least 17 of them, over the next few weeks. Many of them have already come to Washington. What President Trump is referring to is the ability for tariff revenue to give income tax relief. And I think there's a very good chance that we will see this in the upcoming tax bill. The president campaigned on no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, and the restoring interest deductibility for autos, for American-made autos. So tariff income could be used for tax relief on all of those immediately.
So you think that there is a role for significant tariff revenue in U.S. fiscal policy?
I think that it is something that got put away a long time ago, and I think that tariffs will bring back American manufacturing and generate substantial revenue.
Really? Stock market raised more than 100 points. S&P 500 books third straight losing month. For those in the stock game there, everybody with a retirement, you're in it whether you want to be or not. Your retirements are invested heavily in it. Pensions, retirements, investors. Private payroll growth slowed to 62,000 in April, well below expectations. And so the game that we play, the government releases the number, everybody jumps up and down and moves the market. Then, oh yeah, sorry, we had to revise that down. Who was famous for doing that? The Biden administration? Private sector payrolls rose by just 62,000 for the month, the smallest gain since July of 2024. But we play this game now, don't we? How anybody believes it or makes a financial decision based on economic data creates malinvestment. And it's a major reason why a lot of stuff's really screwed up, using bad data to make decisions. Yum Brands revenue misses as Pizza Hut, same store, sales fall 2%. And so they've fully corporatized these brands, and it's pretty much the garbage food that old Bobby Kennedy was talking about. Yum Brands, the parent company of KFC, are they even chickens? What are they? I don't know. Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. Yeah, I would try to steer clear of them as much as possible. Honestly. Yum Brands said sales rose 12% in the first quarter. We still got this fake food, Denver, so I mean, can have that food, I guess. Volkswagen posts 37% drop in the first quarter profit. Says Trump's tariffs could weigh on outlook. They cannot say they did not see this coming at Volkswagen. What else do we got? Let's try to blast through these. Home buyer mortgage demand drops further as economic uncertainty roils the housing market. The average interest rate for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage with conforming loan balances decreased to 0.01% and went down. Wow, whoop-de-doo. From 6.9 to 6.89 from 6.9. Wow. That does add up, though, when you're on a 30-year. That does add up, even the 0.01%. Even with rates much lower than a year ago, potential buyers are hitting pause. Applications to refinance a mortgage were still significantly higher than they were at this time last year. Electronic Arts lays off hundreds, cancels Titanfall game. The video game publisher cuts between 300 and 400 jobs. Want a starter home? It'll cost at least $1 million in these U.S. cities, says new report. In more than 230 U.S. cities, $1 million is only enough for a starter home. I wonder why there's a homelessness crisis. Well, like the boomers say, and I know we have boomers in our audience. I know you guys don't say this, but it is a theme on the interwebs. Just pull up your bootstraps, stop drinking Starbucks, and you can afford a new home, you damn lazy millennials and the rest of you. But $1 million is pretty damn steep for a 3-bedroom track house, which is what they're talking about here. A starter home, maybe even a 2-bedroom. A Zillow analysis found that a typical, quote, starter home was worth at least $1 million in 233 cities as of March. That's a huge jump from 5 years ago when just 85 cities had $1 million starter homes. First-time home buyers are facing a market where prices that once seemed unimaginable have become reality, economists from Zillow said. And where are some of these very expensive, cheap homes? Well, you guessed it. California leads the nation with 113 cities where starter homes cost $1 million. But pricey real estate has spread beyond the Golden State. Half of the United States have at least one city with $1 million starter homes, and the number of such cities has increased in several states over the past year, with New York now at 32, New Jersey 20, Florida 11, and Massachusetts at 11. I'm honestly surprised that it's not higher there in Florida, as we saw many move there during the medical intervention period. And so you can see here a little bit further breakdown. Well, the list there. So that it's literally, it's insane to me, but I guess it shows you the devaluation of the dollar, the artificial scarcity in the housing market created in large part by government regulations, by private equity investors. And this is what we're left with, $1 million starter homes. Quite an investment, wouldn't you say? Quite horrific, actually, for the next generation coming up trying to own a home. Quite horrific, indeed. Big marketers like MasterCard, PepsiCo, Nissan are rethinking pride marketing And so we all need to immediately ban them, riot, protest, all of that, right? As if it wasn't all fake always. And you got played, Pride crowd. Sorry to tell you, on YouTube. You got played as if you didn't know. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. Too much fluoride? I don't know. But yes, indeed, these multinational corporations that are soulless, that don't care what you're, they're trying to make a buck. And so they literally actually want you X'd out of the whole you, me, and everybody else. Maybe someday, some way, the Pride people will wake up to this fact. They seem, even recent history of the 1980s, they seem to, and there's movies about it. It's very well documented, the abuse that the health department did to the Pride community with the whole AIDS. But they just turn a blind eye for some reason. I truly don't understand. But it's all there for everybody to see. And yes, again, once again, you're being abused by multinational corporations. So this Pride season, we may not see that giant push where everything is turned rainbow. Shocking and upsetting, I know. But don't you worry, at Weaponized News, we're never getting rid of our holograph rainbow sticker. So we will not be jumping on board with the likes of MasterCard, PepsiCo, and Nissan to rethink our Pride marketing, because we're marketing it 365, 24/7, every second, every day of the year at Weaponized News, but for a different reason than what you may think. MasterCard isn't rewriting its corporate sponsorship of New York City Pride March. The city's annual march for LGBT rights, the financial service giant has supported Heritage of Pride, the nonprofit group that organizes the New York March and other area LGBTQ events for around a decade, serving as the top level platinum sponsor and preferred payment partner for the past several years. They're playing you, people. I don't even know. They said, MasterCard said it would still participate this June as a long-standing supporter, and this is a mouthful, and they continue to support the LGBTQIA plus community globally. Nissan's decision not to renew came as the automaker is reviewing all of its marketing and sales spending. How dare they? And we saw similar reports from other multinational corporations that are soulless. So maybe they're going to tone it down because they beat you over the head with it all June. So maybe we're going to see them tune it down a little bit. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. June's right around the corner. U.S. trade deficit in goods soars to all-time high as businesses aim to beat Trump's tariffs. So there may be a backlog of inventory as those that were actually in business to make a profit foresaw supply chain issues being caused by Trump's tariffs and pre-ordered a bunch of goods for such an event, as we're seeing now unfold, with reports at ports being of not many goods coming lately here now. The U.S. trade deficit in goods surged 10% in March last month. These things do tend to lag to an all-time high of $162 billion, the government said yesterday. So those that were in the position and had the foresight to stock up a little bit could have bought, they probably did, buy it cheaper, sell it higher. Capitalism kind of a thing. So companies got ahead of these tariffs, of the trade war, and they're going to profit off of it. Shocking, I know. Secret deals, foreign investments, presidential policy changes, the rise of Trump's crypto firm, the New York Times. They have no business attacking Trump, I'll tell you that, or no problem attacking Trump. I wish they would do such great in-depth reporting on numerous other issues. World Liberty Financial has eviscerated the boundary between private enterprise and government policy in ways without precedent in modern American history, they tell us. Well, there they are. World Liberty Financial. The pitch from Z Money arrived on the encrypted messaging app Signalgate, just days before Donald J. Trump's presidential inauguration. Indeed, they're pumping that crypto, and they go through it. World Liberty. So yeah, I would be extremely careful with this. The student loan bubble is about to pop. The Washington Compost tells us. They still have this ridiculous, if you guys haven't looked at them in a while, democracy dies in darkness. I think they brought this catchphrase in the first Trump administration. Is it going to die already? We're waiting. The student loan bubble is about to pop as collectors resume after 5 years. Disaster looms for delinquent borrowers. And on the other side of it are predatory lenders. They don't get in trouble and are allowed to continue the fraud and the scamming of the youth in America. To be told, pull up your bootstraps and cough up $1 million for a starter house. And that's just the way it is. And so you see the disconnect here, which is by design to divide us up here. And so, yeah, we're going to see a bunch of defaults and people's credit ruined, and they will never, or what does it take, 7 years to work off a bankruptcy? Something like this. I don't even know if student loans, it's like attached to your soul. Like you can't even discharge it during a bankruptcy. So, yeah, good luck. They won't even have credit to qualify for a loan for $1 million starter house. So, good job, bank cartel there. You've screwed a generation of American youth out of home ownership and any type of potential loan opportunities to go into debt, to go into mortgage, to go into bondage. So you're just out on the street, I guess, in America. Can't afford $1 million home. It's something you did wrong. Okay. That was quite a bit of economic news. We blasted through it quite well. Barry, if you're still there with us, I see you commenting, so you are. I know you're still upset, as am I, about we're not going to have Justin Trudeau to kick around anymore. But what about this idea coming out of Alberta? Alberta makes separation possible one day after Liberal win. The most important clause in this bill is the one that makes a referendum on separation not just legal, but logistically possible. So what do we think of this? This is the first I'm hearing of this. Will the province of Alberta break free from Canada? Yesterday afternoon, Premier Daniel Smith's government introduced the Election Statutes Amendment 2025, and buried inside it is the most explosive reform in decades, a realistic path to a citizen-led referendum on Alberta separation. Get us an expert or somebody. We don't trust the experts. Somebody that acts like they know. We don't want experts. Now, get us somebody, Barry, that can come tell us about this. Albertans, this is Danielle Smith, the premier of Alberta. Well, it's like a 30-minute press conference. We're not going to play all that. But she says, I will read the post, but we're not going to play a 30-minute video of her. Sorry, Albertans. But we just don't have the time. Well, it goes on. Let me try to blast through this. She says, Albertans deserve elections that are fair, secure, and reflect the true will of the people. Sounds like hate to me. That's why our government is introducing the Election Statutes Amendment Act with the following proposed changes: banning the use of electronic tabulators and other automated voting machines, requiring all ballots to be counted by hand to protect election integrity. And maybe if they don't get enough votes, Barry can open his trunk and bring out a bunch of ballots. I don't know. Eliminating vouching at voting stations to strengthen identification and verification processes. Requiring unofficial vote counts to be completed within 12 hours of polls closing to provide timely, reliable results. Well, hell, it takes 30 days here in California. Voters being required to cast their vote in their constituency of residence or by requesting a special ballot. Expanding access to special ballots, allowing any voter to request one without needing to provide a reason, while protecting integrity by requiring voters to personally request their special ballot, with exceptions for those needing assistance due to a disability. That sounds like a lot of double talk. Updating the Recall Act to make it easier for Albertans to hold elected officials accountable by lowering the signature threshold and extending the time frame to collect signatures. We did the exact opposite here in California to put a ballot initiative on the ballot, i.e. direct democracy. We raised the threshold of signatures and we raised the cost of doing so. So you guys need to take a look at California's tyranny, because this seems to be going in the wrong direction. Improving the Citizen Initiative Act process by setting the threshold for all successful petitions at 10% of eligible voters who participated in the last general election. Allow corporate and union contributions for provincial elections while maintaining transparency and accountability through existing financial disclosure requirements. Improve access to voting for First Nations and Métis settlements, something in French with a accent mark, during referendums and Senate elections. Enhance emergency response provisions for voting disruptions during referendums and Senate elections. I don't know, Barry. Sounds pretty good to me. I don't know, man. I'm sure they'll spin it some way, but it all sounds really good, except for that one that sounded like a lot of double talk about the special ballots. But the rest sounded good to me. I don't know. I'm sure they're trying to trick us, though, right? Okay. On to China. That's what a few things. We are not going to have time to report on it today because I didn't have time to read it, but I think I shall take some time here. Two, it turns out that China has released its own fallout from the medical intervention period, and they're countering what the White House is saying. I know it's shocking because the White House essentially blamed China, a leak at their Wuhan lab, but China's releasing its counter to the White House. And it says the bat prevention, control, and origins tracing China's actions and stance. Here it is, the white paper. And again, Weaponized News Substack, I'll put the link there for those interested, but kind of a big deal. I don't know. So, of course, neither America or China is going to admit fault and take responsibility for what all went down there. But this is China's official response. So we're always going to have that. China said this, America said that. China said there was no lab leak at Wuhan. So that came out today. What else do we got here? From the Chinese foreign minister, unilateralism and protectionism are rising, and the trend of deglobalization is severely impacting the free trade system. The U.S. acting unilaterally has imposed arbitrary tariffs on over 180 countries, infringing upon their legitimate rights and interests. China has stepped forward and taken necessary countermeasures, not only to defend its own legitimate rights and interests, but also to safeguard international rules and order, as well as international fairness and justice. As the world's second largest economy and a responsible major country, China will unwaveringly advance high-level opening up, seek common development with neighboring countries, share opportunities with the world, shoulder its due international responsibilities, and fulfill its international obligations. Kumbaya there. Kumbaya. Coming out of China. And then, do we have it? Did I mess it up? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, here's the video. Propaganda out of China. Propaganda video about the trade war here now. Celebrating 3 years of global security initiative, backed by 120 plus countries, included in 120 bilateral, regional, and international documents, driving solutions for global peace and security. Propaganda out of China. Watch this video.
为了促进世界安危共，中方愿在此提出全球安全倡议。我们要坚持共同、综合、合作、可持续的安全观，坚持尊重各国主权、领土完整，坚持遵守联合国宪章宗旨和原则，坚持重视各国合理安全关切，坚持通过对话协商，以和平的方式解决国家间的分歧和争端，坚持统筹维护传统领域和非传统领域安全。中方愿同各方一道，落实全球安全倡议，坚持通过对话协商化解国家间分歧矛盾。
Well, have a good one, Bob. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, the rest of life goes on in the rest of the world here, as the last administration, the current administration, they're doing their damnedest to alienate the rest of the world, 85%. Not good. What is happening in Pakistan, India? They're cutting off the water supply there. India's accusing, or Pakistan's accusing India of being terrorist in that terror attack. The back and forth. And then we have this propaganda video from the Pakistani Navy. Let's watch this short clip as they're rattling their sabers, India and Pakistan.
You must be better ready. वक्त आ गया है हमने कैपेबिलिटीज को इफेक्टिवली यूटिलाइज करना है. This is the time. अपने आप को मनवाने का, अपने आप को प्रूफ करने का मौका कम मिलता है. बहुत सी उम्मीदें वाबस्ता हैं हमारी कौम की हमसे. We have to deliver.
I don't know. Are India and Pakistan going to have a war there? Maybe. I'm sure we'll get in the middle of it somehow, some way, and act like it's our business. Literally none of our business. Putin, very few people in Europe have the courage to voice their opinion under the pressure of official authorities. I don't know. Putin's bad. We hate him 100%. UK did essentially force Bitchute to shut down operations there. I don't know. Western democracy. Putin bad.
In Europe, in general, there are lots of people who share our positions. Some of them are silent. Some of them make very discreet statements. There are very few people who have the courage, under the pressure of official authorities, have the audacity to make their position heard, who have their own point of view.
I don't know. They'll arrest you for Facebook posts in the UK, as we've seen. Putin's bad. Putin's the bad one, though. Okay. So did, what happened here? Let's hear from the Treasury Secretary again. Are we doing this? See, we're in there in Ukraine. We're dedicated ourselves to a reconstruction investment fund. What a friggin' scam, man.
Trump's tireless efforts to secure a lasting peace, I am glad to announce the signing of today's historic economic partnership agreement between the United States and Ukraine, establishing the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This partnership allows the United States to invest alongside Ukraine to unlock Ukraine's growth assets, mobilize American talent, capital, and governance standards that will improve Ukraine's investment climate and accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The Development Finance Corporation will participate and help to establish this fund in collaboration with the government of Ukraine. Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end. The killing must stop, and both the United States and the government of Ukraine look forward to quickly operationalizing this historic economic partnership for both the Ukrainian and American people.
It's going to be awesome with BlackRock taking over, right? This is funny from Trump, I got to admit. He had this big ABC interview. I think it was yesterday, last night. Let's watch this clip. And the interview, this is the way they do it. The interviewer is such a fraud, a fake, a phony, that they make you want to like Trump because this guy's such garbage. You know what I mean? But let's watch this clip.
He wants peace. You think Vladimir Putin wants peace? I think he does, yes. I think he does. I think even with the raining missiles, I think he really his dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that. Do you trust him? Do you trust him? I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview. I am. And then you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered with a tattoo doesn't have the tattoo. You know. All right. I mean, you're being dishonest. No, I'm not. Let me just tell you. Do I trust? I don't trust a lot of people, but I do think this. I think that let's say he respects me. And I believe because of me, he's not going to take over the whole. But his decision, his choice would be to take over all of Ukraine. Okay. It's a war.
UK launches first airstrike on Houthis in Yemen in 18 months. So America and UK are now bombing Houthis in Yemen. Houthis have announced operational targets of aardvark forces and aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson. So we're shooting at each other over there. They're shooting at each other. So there's a war in Yemen. Nobody cares. Okay, we're almost done here, guys. Thank you for sticking with me. Aardvark land, Gaza, and the starvation weapon. As we continue to report here, the ICC tests a rarely prosecuted war crime. And so they now are bringing these charges of the blockade using starvation as a weapon. As we continue to report here, where our friends here, Smotrich and Gavir, defend the government's decision to completely halt the flow of humanitarian aid, calling it a way to open the gates of hell as quickly and as deadly as possible. So there you go. Again. And this is even coming from the Council on Foreign Relations. Again. Genocide. Starvation as a weapon of war. That's what they're doing, man. Hope you Christians that support Aardvark land love it. You better pray, because you're signing off to pure evil here. What they're up to. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine there. It's a crater left. That's footage from a Gazan residential neighborhood of Al Ishreen Street. It's a crater now. Huge fires rage around Jerusalem. Independence Day ceremony canceled. Aardvark Times, here you go. Fire officials say maybe Aardvark's largest ever. European country sending aid, motorists forced to abandon vehicles as fire hits. Pentagon chief Hegseth warns Iran will pay the consequences for supporting Houthis. Firefighters rescued 3. And yeah, there's some big fires, but don't you worry, it was Hamas. Aardvark land ablaze in national emergency believed to be act of terrorism. As Aardvark land heads into Independence Day, the smell of fire and thick gray smoke give a sense of unease, with multiple sources alleging terrorism and fear of major damage to the Armored Corps Museum in Latrum, a significant memorial site. And I think we have a few images. Well, here's the fire has reached the IDF's door here, Kiefer Brigade military base. Let's watch this short clip. And of course, when it happens in Aardvark land, it's terrorism. When it happens here, it's climate change. So just so everybody, I know it's very confusing, but it's the way we roll. Wouldn't it be the same terrorism if they went and lit an arson fire and caused a giant fire? How come they get to classify it as terrorism, and here we classify it as climate change? Interesting coincidence there, isn't it? Do you have any other images of it? Just images of fire. Not really that much to see, but there are fires, quote, wildfires. And I think that's about, well, here's a couple images. I don't know. And they hype everything up too, way worse than it is. There are fires going on there, but is it really that bad? I don't know. I think the starvation as a weapon is a lot worse for their victims. So that's about all we have for today. I think it was significant that at the cabinet meeting, Bobby Kennedy said, HHS collaborates in child trafficking. That seems pretty significant. Will anything happen? Will anyone get in trouble? Probably not. Probably not. It is significant as well, and a major public health win, that Florida is set to ban fluoride in the water. But yet your NBC News will continue to jump up and down about how it's a naturally occurring mineral. Isn't that funny? When the evidence is all there about what's really going on, admitted by official sources at the EPA. NBC refuses to report said sources. It's a shame. It's a shame. All right, friends, let's go to Odysee. We got Highland, Barry, Unknown, John. Shout out to you, John. Thank you for tuning in on the Odysee. Yeah, well, at least BlackRock will profit off. They'll at least be on the back end of war profiteering, and so we do appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on the Odysee, the Rumble, a lively chat as always. Thank you guys for tuning in there. the Bitchute. See how we're doing on the Bitchute today. A few people tuning in there. Thank you for tuning in on the Bitchute. Banned, or not banned, but essentially forced to stop operations in UK. So you could call it a ban. So you're not watching it on Bitchute in the UK unless you're using like some VPN or some other kind of workaround. But shout out to those on the Bitchute. Thank you for tuning in to this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Shout out to those on the Facebook. We appreciate you tuning in. And YouTube, of course. X. Thank you guys for tuning in on the X. And Kick and Twitch. And I think that's about everybody. Again, go to Weaponized News Substack, and you can see links to all the stories we talked about. And I will be linking up the Chinese version of the medical intervention white paper that was released today. Pretty significant indeed here, as we have the battling narratives will continue, and we'll probably never know the actual truth. And that's the official story, and we're sticking to it here at Weaponized News. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and liberty. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Wednesday evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Thursday for more Weaponized